All right, veggie nuggets. How are you doing? Episode 4 today of this 4 episode series of these 10-minute episodes. I promised a story about mosquitoes. My energy, it's a good story, but my energy for telling it has dissipated. I'm now post dinner. So we're gonna hit our best friend. Our best friend, the random word generator. We now have 24 words. I'm going to read them all and then I'll tell a story. As always, have a listen for my pronunciation and intonation. Gavin, 3, 2, 1. Hostile. Close. Social. Articulate. Patch. Ash. Grain. Literacy. Gown. Prestige. Past. Flavor. Objective. Chain. Or chain. Prediction. Father. Forget. Girlfriend. Supply. Agony. Soldier. Wreck. Countryside. Classify. An odd one, folks. I'm not going to lie. Those first 12 words, I really did think to myself, what am I doing here? Can I pull anything out of this? I've actually got nothing. The second 12 words, oddly enough, when you put out of those 12 words, if you take 5 of them and put them together and join the dots, I really do have a story that I must tell you. And it relies on objective, supply, soldier, countryside, and agony. And the story I'm going to tell you holds all 5 of those words. Okay, this is the first time it's happened on the old Papa G podcast. So what happened was, there was a guy who came to me, and he's like, "Oh, gee," he had been reading a book on military warfare, and I think I might have brought this up before, but I can't remember if it's you over this podcast series or if it was somebody else like 2 weeks ago. And what happened was, folks, in this book, it talked about how geography can play its own part in warfare. And what had happened was, the guy's like, gee, I was in the kitchen. I was making coffee. Okay, I used to live with this guy. Hang on. I thought there was someone at my door. My door is open, remember? My side's to it. And what had happened was the guy's like, gee, I've got this story for you. Like, did you know? He just like runs into it. And this guy was like so excited about it. And I was like, wait, what? And I couldn't quite catch it. So I asked him to repeat it, like these first 2 sentences. And what had happened was, we're in the China. And I had yet to be. I have spent 2.5 years in China, folks. I haven't been to China at this point in my life. This was back at university, and the guy's like, "Oh, so we're in China." And what had happened was, the British Army were in China, and somehow they're in the countryside. I'll actually minimize these. Where do I put these words? And they had one objective. Hell yeah! and it was to hold this valley. Let me check my other words. Oh yeah, so these soldiers, they're in the countryside. They have an objective. They're holding a valley, and this valley, as you can tell, like you remember, like valleys are in a V shape, okay? And if you're gonna hold a valley, I don't know how you pictured it, but now that I know how the story goes, I mean, if you had said to me, gee, hold this valley, like I would put a fort in the middle of the valley. Now, a valley is like a mountain on one side or hills on one side, hills on the other, but you're at the bottom of the V. And I was reading a book called First Blood recently. It was made into a movie called, well, it was called First Blood, funny enough, but it's like the Rambo series. And I remember Rambo, he was like chopping through the woods. He dives into this blah, blah, blah. And I forget what it was. And I remember looking it up because I was trying to picture it like he's hiding. There's a helicopter going over. 1 second, hang on. There's a helicopter like up, upstairs. It's in the sky, and this is where it really does begin. And like Rambo's had his he's had his 12 hours to run into these forests. We're still in the first quarter of the book, and he's like hiding behind a trunk, a dead fallen tree, in this blah blah blah. And I remember looking it up, and it's like a miniature valley where their stream runs through it, but it's not that tall. But here in the China, it's a valley, like it's much taller hills. There's mountains either side. You're in the countryside. We've got our soldiers. They've got an objective. It's to hold the valley. If you gave me this job, I would put our fortress like in the middle of the valley, right? That is not. That is not what the British Army did, folks. Just let me wash my mouth out here with my Coca-Cola. Just give me 1 second. What they did was the British Army were holding this valley. And at the top of the valley, folks, where you can look down through the whole thing. Did you ever take like a picture from like a really good viewpoint? We're already on 7 minutes, folks. This is going to be like a 15-minute episode. Sorry to disappoint you. But like there's a valley. I don't know how well you know hills, folks, but a valley, I mean, it ends somewhere. And if it ends at a high point, if you put your fortress up there, then what happens is, like this valley that the British were holding, they put their fortress up at the top of the valley, and they were able to look down the whole thing. And it lasted like, I don't know what else, I don't know what number to put on this. You may as well, I mean, call it 500 meters. Like, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, you're looking downhill as well, and it stretches on like it's a valley. And what had happened was the Chinese had figured out that they had figured out where this British fortress was, and they're like, okay, we're going to destroy this British forces. Sorry, we are going to destroy Jintian Walmart. Sure, okay, I don't know how to say destroy British forces, but I know how to say today we're gonna in Chinese, folks. And it was today we're going to destroy the British forces and that fortress. So what happened was anyway, and this is like the report that is in this book that my friend had read. What had happened was, like, this is from the British point of view, okay? And the British point of view had stated that, in the morning, like what happened was in the morning, like the Chinese, they sent in like 200 soldiers, okay? 10 minutes later, they're all dead. Because what had happened was the British, the way they protected their fortress was that they had these like mini machine guns. So this wasn't just like sniper rifles or like an M1 Garand, but if you had an M1 Garand, this would do all right. Actually, I mean, I don't even know what year this was, what decade, folks. Isn't it 1800s? Somewhere in that 100-year period is when this happened. Okay. Because think about this, they're using machine guns, but they're like mini guns, that roll it, the kind of thing, like technology being a winner. So anyway, they have like, 10 of these things up at the top of the valley, like 10 of these machine guns. So they send up the first 200 Chinese, they die in 10 minutes. And what happened was the Chinese sent in 300, and they all die within 10 minutes. Everyone's dead. So the Chinese then sent in 400 Chinese. And folks, these are like loose numbers I'm giving you. You just need to understand the principle. They just sent in 400 Chinese. They're all dead within 10 minutes. And the British were like celebrating. They're like, oh, these silly guys, like, we're in such a good position. We're in such a good position. Like, there's no way. They like, and the dead bodies, they're like far away. The Chinese sent in 500. They're all dead. 600. All dead. 700, 800, 900, 1,000. They're all dead. And the British kept going. Look at these guys. They're all dying. Like, I can't believe we have such a good position. Like, there's no way we're going to lose this today. And the Chinese sent in 1,100. The next wave. And they kept doing this, like, dead, dead. Next thing you know, folks, you got 1,500 Chinese coming up. And there did come a point whereby the British, they were all looking at each other being like, okay, number one, we're winning. We're killing all these guys. Number two, like, how many people do they have? And then number three, how many bullets do we have? And these guys were well stocked, folks. They had like a lot of bullets, so they weren't even like worried. But you see, when it came to like 2,500, like there are so many dead Chinese people here at this point. Like there are so many dead Chinese. It was said that the bodies were just mounding up, folks. And this is from like a British perspective. And here's the thing as well: the guns, because they were firing so many bullets, some of those guns started to melt. So now we're on 7 guns. And now we're on we have 26 of Chinese people coming up this valley, climbing over their dead brothers, folks. I kid you. I mean, how else are they supposed to get up here? They're climbing over the bodies of their brothers just to try to get up to this wee fortress. In the end, I mean, the British just packed up and left. And that's that story, folks. We have, like I said, let me just count that up. Objective, hold of, countryside, soldier, agony. And I did say supply, right? Like the supply, like, supplies. Where's the supplies, man? How many bullets do we have? We're in the China, man. And that was that, folks. I mean, I will leave you on this as well, actually. If you ever look at British military history, I mean, they did record as much as they could out of it. If you read some of that stuff, it really is horrible. And this was their own account. Although, take a look at a book called The Boer War, or The Boer War, by the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes. Okay, let you put the 2 and 2 together there. But if you, and it begins with a Sir. Okay, if you Google the author of the Sherlock Holmes and then the Boer War, read the first 5 pages of that, and then do yourself a favor, just pick through the rest of that. I mean, it's going to be. I actually held a paper copy in my hand one time, and I wanted to bring it home, but I couldn't. It was from a museum. And it was in my hand, folks. It was like a first edition, but I just hulk out an electronic copy and read the first, like, say, a couple of pages of the introduction. It's very interesting, and then what I want you to do is just dive right into the middle of it and read 2 pages. Now remember, this is the guy that wrote Sherlock Holmes, so have a look at how he handles the Boer War. 14 minutes, guy. I said fit. Oh, we're on 14:30, maybe something like that. Okay, folks, I've actually got to go. All right, thank you so much. I might have another episode to record. I don't know. I will see. But thank you so much for listening. As always, have a safe journey home. Have a good food tonight yourself. Feed yourself well. And may your God, your gods go with you. Thank you so much.